Out here, one bad cut or one wrong line.
Welcome to Industrial Timber, where timber work is not just about cutting wood, it is about steel, pressure, timing, and decisions made under real danger. Subscribe now if you want more real logging action, industrial timber machines, dangerous close calls, and hard lessons from the woods. Right away, the scene opens with serious industrial wood processing. A crane grabs massive logs and feeds them straight into a high-powered chipper. The rollers pull the timber in with brutal force, and once the blades catch it, there is no resistance left. Wood disappears into the machine, chips blast through the chute, dust fills the air, and the truck starts filling with processed material almost instantly. This is not slow manual work anymore. This is raw timber being converted into output at industrial speed. But once logs leave the machine and hit the road, the danger does not disappear. Timber hauling is a completely different kind of risk. Chains, straps, load placement, balance, and tension all matter. If that load shifts while the truck is moving, it is not only the driver who is in trouble. Everyone nearby becomes part of the danger zone. Then we see a worker climb onto a massive trunk and start cutting deep into the side. He is not just making a random cut, he is shaping the wood section by section, trying to control how the upper part separates. The chainsaw bites into thick timber while tension builds inside the trunk. Then the section finally breaks loose and slides away cleanly. It looks controlled, but make no mistake, one bad footing or one unexpected shift, and that same technique becomes a serious accident. Machines like the John Deere 648H with tire tracks show exactly how much forestry equipment has evolved. More traction, more stability, and better control in mud and uneven ground make a huge difference. Older machines would fight every rut. This setup keeps pulling, keeps gripping, and keeps the job moving even when the ground is working against it. And sometimes there is no real road at all. The machine has to create one. A zill pushes through rough terrain, cutting its own path because there is no other option. In timber work, access is everything. If the road does not exist, the machine becomes the road builder. Then the WP3000 changes the pace completely. This is not delicate cutting. This is controlled industrial destruction. Logs go in, consistent output comes out, and the whole process turns messy raw material into something useful and repeatable. That is where engineering beats brute force. Power matters, but precision is what keeps production steady. Next comes the Valmet 425EX with a Quadco head and Cummins power. This is not just another feller buncher. It is a machine built for hard conditions and repaired for another round of punishment. Heavy-duty hydraulics replace track pumps, a rebuilt boom cylinder, lighting, heating, and air conditioning. Every detail tells you this machine was made for operators who do not get perfect weather or perfect ground. They just get the job and make it happen. Then the scene turns dangerous in a different way. A controlled burn is used at the base of a tree, flames wrapping around the trunk to weaken the wood before removal. Smoke builds, heat rises, and the tree becomes easier to bring down, but also more unpredictable. Out in the woods, luck sometimes shows up at the last second. Sometimes it does not. That woodpecker hit way too close. That is why preparation matters before the back cut even starts. The fall direction should already be chosen. The escape route should already be clear. The pressure points should already be understood. If you skip that part, you are not logging, you are gambling with gravity. Then half the roof suddenly collapses during the cut, and the job turns chaotic in seconds. The worker is left hanging on the ladder while debris crashes down beside him. That is the kind of moment that proves how fast a simple job can become a near disaster. After that, we see a log being fed into a spinning circular saw. The operator guides it carefully, the blade cuts clean, sawdust sprays out, and rough timber becomes usable lumber in seconds. When the setup is right, the process looks smooth. But that smoothness only exists because every part of the machine is doing its job correctly. That is the reality of industrial timber. Power, precision, risk, and constant decision-making. Some days, everything runs clean. Other days, one small mistake changes the entire outcome. Then a forestry harvester clamps onto a fallen trunk and starts processing. The cutting head locks in, the blade spins up, sawdust bursts into the air, and the rollers feed the log forward while stripping branches in one continuous motion. Cut, grip, feed, process all happening almost instantly. Modern forestry is fast because machines now combine several dangerous jobs into one controlled system. Then we move deeper into Suriname, where the environment changes the rules again. Dense jungle, no proper roads, massive timber, and machines pushing through terrain that barely allows movement. This is logging in one of its rawest forms. If something goes wrong out there, recovery is not simple. There is no easy backup plan. A logger then cuts deep into the base of a giant tree, building the notch and guiding the fall. Every pass widens the cut, every chip removed changes the structure, and the whole tree slowly moves closer to the final drop. This is where experience matters. The cut is not just about getting through the wood, it is about deciding where thousands of pounds of timber will go when it finally lets loose. Moments like that earn respect, maybe even a whiskey at the end of the day, but experience does not erase risk. A worker standing on a roof, cutting a heavy tangled branch, still has to deal with shifting weight, falling debris, and unpredictable movement. Because at the end of the day, timber is not optional. Houses, beams, boards, fuel, paper, materials, so much of what people use starts in places like this. The work is dangerous, but the demand never stops. Even the basic undercut matters. If that first cut is wrong, everything after it becomes compromised. A clean undercut is not just a technical detail. It is the foundation of control. Without it, the tree decides more than the operator does. You can hear it in the voices too, frustration, urgency, and the moment people realize the job is bigger than expected. Sometimes the smartest move is not forcing the cut. Sometimes the smartest move is calling for help before the situation gets worse. Then come the close calls, a rough fall, a brutal-looking slip, and somehow the operator walks away. It looks almost funny afterward, but only because it did not end badly. Logs are then bundled with cables and dragged through the forest as one heavy mass. Dirt, roots, branches, and debris all fight against the load while the skidder pulls through tight terrain. That is not clean hauling. That is raw extraction, turning scattered timber into one controlled pull. Then we see what happens when planning fails. A tree falls straight onto a truck, crushing steel like it is nothing. Most of the time, that is not bad luck. Next, a loader stacks log after log onto a trailer, placing each piece carefully to keep the load balanced. It may look repetitive, but this is where transport safety begins. A bad stack can shift. A shifted load can roll. A rolling load can turn deadly. Then comes a simple but clever manually driven system. A rotating drum spins while one worker feeds material and another keeps the mechanism moving from the side. It is basic, physical, and demanding, but it works. Not every useful machine needs to be massive. Some are just smart. Then two trees sharing the same root system create a dangerous chain reaction. Cut one, and the balance of the other changes instantly. The base shifts, the second trunk starts moving, and suddenly a controlled cut becomes something much harder to predict. From there, we move back into engineering. A new log handler from Lear brings 30 tons of lifting capacity, an oversized grapple, and a design focused on uptime. Strength matters, but in industrial timber, uptime matters just as much. Easy maintenance, fast access to key components, and less downtime all mean one thing: more work done and less money lost. Then we see a worker high on a steep mountain slope, standing on narrow cut branches like footholds while carving into a massive trunk. Every movement is exposed. Every cut sends chips flying. The notch forms, tension builds, and finally the upper section gives way. It is controlled, but it is not comfortable to watch. Because gravity does not negotiate. Once a tree begins to fall, the next few seconds decide everything. When someone yells that it is going, everybody nearby knows the job has already entered the danger phase. But not every method deserves respect. Pushing animals too hard, overloading systems, forcing bad setups, cutting corners, maybe it works once, maybe twice. Eventually, the forest collects payment. Then another massive trunk is cut at the base. The operator shapes the notch carefully, weakening the structure one pass at a time until the tree is ready to fall. That moment always carries tension because the tree may follow the plan or it may choose its own path. Charred timber makes everything worse. Burned from the inside, weakened where nobody can see it, and unpredictable under load. At that point, the operator is not just cutting a tree, he is working with a structure that could fail without warning. That is, industrial timber heavy logs, powerful chippers, track skidders, feller bunchers, dangerous cuts, unstable trunks, jungle logging, sawmill work, and machines built to turn forest chaos into production. Subscribe now for more real timber operations, industrial forestry machines, close calls, and raw work from the hardest jobs in the woods. Drop a comment with the most intense moment from this episode, because out here, the next cut can change everything.